Your online date have kids. Well, it's a lot of things to consider if you found someone you like and this person happens to have kids. I mean, have a kid or maybe more than one kid. Because it's a lot more to think about. It's a lot more to consider. It's a lot more to compromise. One of it is the sharing of time. If you have a partner that has kids or only one, even just only one kid, the tendency is you cannot have all his time. You cannot have every single time, all of it, just for yourself. You have to consider that you will be sharing love, time, energy that this person has between you and his kids. But of course, it's a lot of people, it's a lot of situations, especially here in Europe and even in USA or other countries, people who go into marriage or go into another relationship and then they have kids on their past relationship, and maybe some of them didn't work, but a lot of them it also works, and it depends upon how you and your partner work for it. So when you have your online date and you are already in a relationship of online dating where everything is already serious, that is why I said before that it's very important that you have to have in your profile, if you want somebody who has kids or if you don't consider dating people who have already kids, then it's good that you will really disclose it, that you're not interested to be dating somebody who has already kids, and that you are also honest to disclose it in your profile, that if you have a kid or if you have kids, just write it there. Because like maybe in Asian country it's not very common, like especially in the Philippines, like it's not very common, like people have already kids and then somebody want to have a relationship with them and like like be honest to each other. But here in Europe, I can say, like here in Sweden, for example, it's a lot of Asian women or men that they go into relationship, like they go into online dating and they really disclose that I have one kid or I have two kids and they're living with me half time. I mean, they are with me for a week and the next week they are with their other parent. And that is very important, because here it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter if you have kid or kids. I mean, when people like each other, they just talk about it, how will they handle it, and what are the things to consider that the relationship will work, considering that they have kids, or one parent has a kid, or two, they both have kids. But this thing, there's always a solution for it, because like it's not only one case here. It's a lot of cases where people have already kids in their past relationship, but still their second, third relationship works, regardless if they have kids or not. So sharing the time, of course, you can never avoid sometimes, like especially when your relationship is just new and you want all the time of your partner that you want it by yourself. But it's in the beginning of the relationship, it's also kind of practice. It's kind of trying if the relationship will work, because if not, then maybe it's a kind of setting that doesn't work for you. Number two, it's kind of the division of love that you will encounter with you as single and then a partner who has kids. Because sometimes sometimes you can call it selfish, like why you cannot like just give it in if the other partner has a kid, and then you have to understand that he has to deal with it, he has to give time to his kids, and then it can be like so selfish for you to just think of yourself, especially if we are talking about small kids. Then maybe you have to consider that there can be some time also that is maybe inconvenient for you, like if the kid gets sick or whatever, and sometimes like suddenly they just ask their other parent that I want to be with my mom, or I want to be with my dad, I missed him or her, and so suddenly there are changes in the arrangement. And that is one thing to consider, that it can happen, and it will can always occur between relationships where each one or one of them has kids. And then one thing to consider is more like kids can be demanding. So one thing we have to think about, if you are an adult and you are into a relationship and the other party has kids, or maybe he has two kids, for example, that are like, age from 2 to 10-year-old, or they are still kids, and kids, they have a limited understanding. Unlike us adults, we adults, we learn more about life, we learn more about how to consider, how to compromise, and we are much more expected to give more understanding than kids. But kids are kids. We can never think that a 10-year-old or a 7-year-old kid can always understand and can always be considerate and can always compromise for the love and the time that his parent can give to him. Because especially on those ages, they can be much more sensitive when it comes to that thing. And even the separation itself of their parents is already a very big thing for them. It's already something that they have it in them, and it's affecting them. Sometimes we just don't, or we missed it. We adult, we think that it's they're just kids, they don't care, but it's not. They have it. It's only that we cannot be much aware of it, because kids are not very, how do you say, they cannot express so much. It's not like we can totally describe how we feel. Like you can say I'm so upset, and you really understand how it feels. Like I'm so frustrated, and I'm you can relate more when it comes to relationship. But kids, especially on their younger age, their understanding are limited. Of course, you can explain to them, but still you can never expect 100% that kids can understand and compromise in the same way like we adults can. So you as an adult, and you will go into a relationship with somebody who has kids, it's one thing to consider that sometimes you cannot avoid it, and you get, you feel like selfish because like you just want his or her attention all the time. Then it's one thing to consider, if you cannot make a compromise to be living with somebody who has kids, then never mind trying it. If you're the kind of person that you just want somebody, you want him or her all the time with you, and you're very jealous type or whatever, then take it into consideration that if you go into this kind of relationship, you will really encounter a lot of hardships and challenges, and maybe you will come into a point that you cannot take it anymore. So if you have this kind of characteristic in you, then maybe it's better not to try it, because there are a lot of people there who has no kids, and then like you also doesn't want to have kids, and you just want to have kids with one person. Then maybe you can do it. But I will tell you, there are still people who meet each other and both have kids from their past relationship, or only one of them have kids with the past relationship. That works. There are a lot of people that they have relationship and they have past kids in their past relation. They have kids in their past relationship, and the relationship works, because it's just a matter of you work for it. The two of you has to work for it. You have to give in more understanding, love. And instead of like pushing it out, it's better that if like try to meet the kids. If you are in the same country, you don't have different nationalities, then you live in the same country, then it means that you can meet each other, you can date, meet each other. And then maybe after quite a long time of meeting and you think that you are ready to, you know, introduce your kids to each other, then it's good to try to be with his kids, and you can see the situation. So if you feel like when you are already in the situation and you feel like you can never take it, then it's just to say bye to that relationship. You can just say, oh, I'm sorry, but I cannot take it. It's just so complicated, because it's a complicated relationship to get into. And then it's also one thing that if one of you has kids, of course, you can always encounter a lot of misunderstanding, because there's a lot of challenges, there are struggles when you are dealing or when you are in a relationship which the other party have kids, or maybe you have kids. But then, as long as you have an effective communication in your relationship, then everything will work. It can work. And then, of course, instead that you are pushing out the kids or the other parties involved in your relationship, because I'm not talking even not only with the kids, I mean even with the family of your partner. I mean, maybe your partner has only a has only a mother, or he has only a father, and he has a very close relationship with his mom or with his dad, and it's a very different thing also, because it means that he will always find, or she will always find, a way to be together with his or her nearest family. And it's also one thing to consider, that we shouldn't feel selfish. But of course, there are other things, there are other factors that can affect when it comes to relationships with kids involved. So effective communication. I will be talking about more effective communication in other videos that I will be making, and especially when it's there are kids involved. Because me, as a worker in daycare center, I only not encounter dealing with kids, but it's more like we also deal about relationship, because it's very important that we know how it works with kids in their home, because we can relate to it, how the kids develop in the daycare centers or kindergarten or preschools. It's very important, because it's easier for us to relate on it, why the kid is acting like that and that, and so we, the adults, can have more understanding to them. And sometimes it's just like that between an adult and a kid. As what I told you, we adults are much more expected to have more understanding than the kids. It's just like that. Thank you so much for watching this video. This is Evelyn Siegelstrand. And by the way, before I forget, I will be sharing some books with all my videos. You just look it down there and just look for links, because I can have books to recommend to you which can be useful when it comes to relationship with kids and all this stuff. And then I'm sure it can be helpful to you. If you think that my video content is not enough, if you want more information, then don't hesitate to ask me and make your suggestions, and just subscribe so you can have all the videos. You can be updated with all the videos that I will be putting in my channel. And at the same time, the more subscriptions means the more inspiration. And the more I am inspired, the more I will be sharing a lot of videos on my channel. This is Evelyn Siegelstrand again. Thank you for watching.